Hey, all you happy lost souls. How y'all doing out there? The first thing I want to say is thank you all so much. The channel's numbers are doing a lot better. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers. I'm going to be doing a giveaway when the channel hits 2,500 subscribers. So stay tuned in a month or so for announcements on the next giveaway. I usually give a couple pieces of rough gemstone away along with some merchandise. But what winning this contest will do is enroll you in a future contest for an ultimate grand prize. I've had two giveaways already. So there's two people entered into the ultimate giveaway, which will happen at 10,000, which will be a much more enticing prize, something like a console or laptop or something really nice. Um, and this is just like a grassroots promotion to try to um, spread the channel. And as I've said before, Happy Lost Souls is kind of about a collection. It started out with artifacts. And once we realized some of the artifacts are made out of corundum or rough sapphire, we realized a lot of that was in the area. And a lot of these ancient quarry sites along creeks in the area have been in use, probably going all the way back to Neanderthal age um, hominids, whether they were Neanderthals because we're in North America. A lot of people dispute that. I personally don't because I think ancient oceans were highways. But the tools that are 60, 70 to 80,000 years old, I only have about four or five found in those layers. And they're actually part of that collection is held in my friend's portion of the collection. My friend D is a partner who goes out rock hunting with me, and she actually found one of the really good Neanderthal style hand axes made out of obsidian, and she keeps it in her collection. I have a whole video showing it, and I've had it in my possession a few times. But and the other thing I wanted to update you all on is a month or so back, I put videos out saying I'm renovating the rock room. I'm going to get the whole collection out with all the artifacts. What had happened is I cleared the bed out, started the process of all of that, and my best friend had fell in a situation where she was in between finding a place to live. So I let her stay here for a few months in the rock room essentially. So it kind of delayed some of my progress, but I did get the bed out of the room, got all this extra space now. I started sorting out some of the artifacts and through some of the pieces of the collection. Like I said, the stuff that's out that you can actually see is probably about 1/5 of what I really have to 1/8 of what I really have. All these drawers are full. We're going to get more shelving for over here. Um, so right now I have a lot of the stuff that was outstaged over here, and there's an assortment of different things. There's some rough gemstone over here. There's artifacts. There's effigy type stones. They had an animalistic or animalist form of spirituality, almost a form of paganism deeply rooted to natural and nature. So you see a lot of these anamorphic figures from the side profile expressed in a lot of their little hand tools. And you've got a horse here. This is a poker made out of yellow rough sapphire. And that would be done to flake along edges for pressure flaking. And you can see the eye and the mane, and you can see the mouth here and the nose. And it's the side profile of a horse. We have another one which is rough green sapphire on schist, and they kind of worked the schist out, leaving the piece of sapphire or that gem band elevated on the schist, but they left it in the side profile of an elephant or woolly mammoth of some sort. You got the trunk with the nostrils right there, and you can see its mouth is right here, and it's kind of roaring. There's its tongue, its eye, its ear back here. In the back, there's even a little cave with a fire. There's a whole background scene. Um, if it was like it was the day it was lost and the creek didn't eat up at it a bit. And when you run firelight or candlelight on, it almost looks like a hologram, like it's moving or roaring. We get tons of effigy or tools that are in the shape of an animal, or more detailed in turtles, especially along the pennypack, because they have these incredible turtles called alligator snapping turtles. Their lineage goes back like 8 million years. But these were obviously worshipped by groups along the creek as some sort of deity or spirit type animal. Because you see snapper turtle head here. It's like a shaft straightener made out of yellow corundum. We have a really, really rough, it's most likely a material similar to corundum, but we would more classify it as like an emery, or an emery material for like emery boards for filing nails. It's kind of like right beneath corundum, but it's like a rougher, dirtier form of corundum ore essentially. Another turtle that's also a knife on this side, been edged worked, and also could be a pressure flaker made out of some sort of rough corundum ore. Another poker in the shape of some sort of animal head with a poker point coming out. This is really interesting on this really high quality piece of mica. You can see the head of a seal, and you can see that it's a seal swimming, which is kind of really interesting if you start talking about Salutrians possibly making it to North America, since they were called Salutrians because they hunted primarily seal. They followed seals, possibly across the ice sheet during the last ice age, getting here around 20,000 years ago. And then these are all rough gemstones. We got some blue sapphires, different rubies, corundums, different rubies and corundums back here. Also in the area where the hills have large limestone deposits, we find a ton of coral, because these hills 250 to 280 million years ago were actually coral reefs, or very shallow, warm tropical ocean that covered the whole earth during the Cambrian period. So we get these like leftover remnants of fossils and things like that. This is some kind of fossil in like high-grade limestone with possibly some kind of metal in it because it's so heavy. I thought it was a turtle head at first, but it's so heavy, I think it's some kind of metal. And I got some metals that I found back in throughout there, whether they're lead or iron or silver or cobalt, different ores. This is probably some sort of lead ore or iron ore. It's probably iron ore and limestone. As I found that near an active quarry actually. Down here we've got some really high grade like orange sapphires or paradacea. You got yellow sapphire, some really cool blue sheen or gold sheen blue sapphire. A lot of my rough blue stuff is down here, and this is what we would consider blue sheen. Because of the biotin schist running through the sapphire, you get this gold sheening color and almost a sparkle to it running throughout the blue. That's what they call blue sheen. If it's just yellow or gold, it's called gold sheen. We've got some more rough blue corundum down here, which I did get a saw for Christmas to cut this stuff, and it's finally starting to get a little bit nicer out. I should be able to make a couple cuts, first cuts, and put a video up in a couple weeks. It's a water saw, wet saw, so I'm just waiting for the weather to get good. But some of these sapphire are neat because you could see that they are in self-determinating matrices. So they're still in their actual matrix. You see a barrel or bar forming, and then there's another bar, but they're running into each other, the matrices, and then determinating. Right here you can see the matrix on both sides, how one side, two sides, but what's interesting about that is this has been cored out on the bottom, and you can see that black patina because it was in someone's hands. So this piece of blue sapphire is some kind of hand axe that was used, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of the corundum, because it's so hard and it made great tools, how they worked with it It was probably some sort of abrasion technique with sand or aluminum oxide powder and water, and they just used like rougher, coarser stones for abrasion, like this type of stuff back here. Like we have a nice block sander right here that was left at one of the sites. Like it's a palm sander literally, but it's made out of this heavy, it's almost a garnet type material or andesite type metamorphic material, but it's got all kinds of metals running through it. It's more of like a granite or a gneiss type material. Also, we have some nepheline cyanite down here. We have hammers made out of granite. You can see where it's notched out and counterweight it right there. You got a lot of hammers and picks. Literally, there's one bank or one ancient quarry that I call the Beach of Hammers. There's thousands and thousands of them. You could take trucks back there and just keep taking artifacts, and you would never cease to run out of taking them. We find these really cool, like rhyodite artifact pairs with the serpentine effect, these celts. You see more effigy pieces. You see like a bird or a turtle here made out of echoglite. I have a whole video on those artifacts. It's like an echoglite style axe or celt, and they actually lined and painted it at one point. You can see some of the pigment on it still. This stuff over here is corundum. So this is literally a saw made out of yellow sapphire, a Solutrean style saw too. And then I just brought a couple other examples of yellow sapphire artifacts. Here's a little pick or hammer. This is a pressure flaker made out of yellow sapphire. You can see how it was cored out to fit the hand perfect. And this little end, you would take leather in one hand, this in the other, and press the edges of the point that you want to add some serration or sharpness to. Have an awesome celt back here. You can really see the rope marks and the carving that went into it, the stonework. Celts and hammers, different artifact pairs. These are very interesting because I found these at multiple sites, one Neshaminy, one Wissahickon, one Pennypack. But this particular style artifact, very similar artifact in this, has been dated as one of the oldest in North America, found in the state of Washington. I have one that looks exactly like it, and they dated that back to like 40 or 50,000 years or something like that. These little tiny saw blades and these little tiny hand tools, these little picks and needle type instruments. These are all very Solutrean in style. They were working with hide all the time, turning seal hides into either boats or clothing during the Ice Age. So they used a lot of these finer instruments. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an update. Still don't have the whole museum set up, but I'm making a little bit of progress. I'm behind where I want to be, of course. But yeah, that's kind of what the channel is in a nutshell. It's original music, which I'll post from time to time. I do philosophy conversations, and I talk all about southeastern Pennsylvania and the creeks associated with all these mysteries. An ancient culture using sapphire and gemstone to make artifacts. An ancient culture mining silver. But whatever, these quarries have been in utilization, or they have been utilized by people or relatives, hominids, primitive relatives of people for probably back 100,000 years back. We find a lot of these non-composite, very heavy style hand tools or hand hammers by the quarry sites. A thing that you'll see in a lot of Native American artifacts is striping, or they'll try to incorporate some of the lines running through it. This has sacred meaning and principles to it. A great indication that somebody once used it as a hand tool is the shape of it, but you get this blackening or this staining on the surface of artifacts that have had a ton of use. And they call that patina in the world of artifacts. Even in old guns they call it patina. But what that is this oil and dirt and minerals and sweat from a person's hand over using this tool many an hour over a long period of time. And all that sweat and oil, all that stuff from the hands has absorbed in and remineralized, essentially fossilized into a different mineral. that now sits on the top of the surface of the artifact. And anytime you see that patina on there, you know that there's some kind of ancient use going on. Some of the darkening is from pitch that they used. They used to take pine, hoof. They used to melt things down to make waterproofing, or pitch or tar-like substance to attach, tools to shafts when you got into a more composite phase of tool design. But the fascinating thing is that this group of people in the 20,000-year-old range, I call them the Solutreans, they were doing a lot of finer, smaller points that were diamond shaped. They oftentimes were only stoneworked on one side, or unifacially flaked instead of bifacially flaked. Sometimes they're not flaked at all, because the sapphire grows in sheets, and oftentimes can just be hewn out as a thin object already. It's so strong you never snap this. It's a couple thousand times stronger than steel. So you wouldn't need to core it, you wouldn't need to flute it for any reason, because it already has plenty of strength, and it's already plenty narrow enough just to slide down the split of an arrow shaft. So obviously their attachment structure was a little different during the Solutrean time period. You see very triangular, very small tools. You see rhombus or diamond shaped a lot. And I've got trays and trays of them under here and in here that aren't out yet. Like I said, I only got about 1/8 of the collection out in its entirety. I just wanted to give you guys some progress. This is kind of neat here. This is another big effigy stone. You can see the notch back here. This is a tool of some sort, but it's also a pig's head, and it's the snout of the pig is here, and you can see they did some work to kind of add the snout. There's an eye right in this area. You need to get an inspection light on it to see it. It's faded, but they use this they use this ecloglite. Again, this mineral that is beautifully laced with different garnets and serpentines, and often appears, this greenish, reddish, white with crystals running through it. This ecloglite forms generally around kimberlite vents on the bottom of oceans, or volcanic zones at the bottom of oceans. So like hot pools, or geological hot spring, or areas that used to have hot springs associated with them, you'll find this. And like I've said before, one of the main creeks I find the majority of the stuff out of the Pennypack has been here so long that it used to be flowing underneath of that ocean 260 million years ago. That creek was still flowing because it runs through a fault. So it's ancient. You'll find all kinds of things, including different fossils and things like that. Most of the sapphire and rough gemstone. There's also garnet. There's different types of spessartines, which are feldspar. And there's all kinds of cool colors in those. There's different types of schists and metals. Right here you can see a really good example of a yellow and blue sapphire. And when that banding is tighter, and it's tighter together, it's almost invisible, the layering, and then you get green because of the yellow and blue banding. The effect of that is green. But you see the gem band here in this perfect rough blue yellow sapphire. And they utilized a piece of this over here to make this crazy hammer effigy that's black on one side and white on the other, because they use that gem band running through the sapphire to create this little pendant. And then up top, these pendants are a lot more detailed than you think. You think to yourself, well, this is hanging from somebody's neck, like how was it attached, or was it attached? And the cool thing about this piece is, after studying it, I did find that right up top here, you see that little slit right there? Right there? That runs all the way through, enough to get a piece of sinew through to the other side. So this was strung up as a pendant of a hammer of some sort. Now, what's very odd about this hammer style pendant is that was the thing that the Vikings like to do. They wore little hammers in honor of Thor, one of their gods. What's really fascinating is I found a much bigger version of the same exact style hammer, but in an actual hammer and not an effigy. So there you have the effigy. Here you have the actual hammer. So it's crazy to find the exact tool shape and design as the smaller version that has been memorialized into some sort of pendant. And a lot of these pendants have the same mechanism in order to tie them. The same thing with this gold sheen sapphire here. That is shaped in the shape of some kind of dog-like animal. It's either a fox or a wolf. You see the nose there, the eye, the ears. But this too, right here, you could see the little hole that was drilled through it here. That comes through here that you could attach sinew to and hang this from a necklace or a pendant. So that's just some of like a tiny little sample of some of the different time periods and different things that I've stumbled across in streams in northeast or in southeast Pennsylvania and creeks down into Maryland, into the York area. All these areas are good places to check for corundum, i.e. rough sapphire and ruby. Remember, sapphire and ruby, they're the same thing. Ruby is red. Anything that's not red is a sapphire, but they're all aluminum oxide. That's all it is. That's the chemical that is a sapphire. That is the mineral. It's aluminum oxide. And we get all kinds of different types of those. And a lot of times the corundum will appear to look like a home plate or a stop sign because it's trying to form its matrix. You see a lot of them sometimes have natural faceting. They're still like in that faceted form. It's a great way to find these because they are so hard. Most rocks in a creek, when they start, getting tumbled around, they become real circular like this because they're real soft. So the creek really eats into them and erodes them and shapes them. Not the sapphire and corundum. They still stay faceted. For the most part, they'll be real square and blocky because they're so hard that the creek really doesn't deteriorate them as nearly as quickly as some of the other materials. Now they will round out sometimes, like right here is a really nice color changing shifting ruby. This right here, you see the banding and everything run through it. You can still see the flat facets that are on it, but it has gotten rounded a bit because it must have been flowing through the stream and not stuck in a deposit. Some of them will get rounded off. Some of them occasionally will have little inclusions running in them. You get beautiful pad paradacea. This can easily get mistaken for golden healer quartz. And it is not. That color shifts like crazy. We got another one here. It's very similar in color. We got these dark bluish purple ones almost that'll shift to like a light amethyst color in certain light. And really, because sapphires have these little inclusions when they grow in them, called pinning or needling, they look like these little tic-tac-toe score marks that are within these crystal matrices. When light from different angles gets reflected or refracted back through these little pins at different angles, it makes the color change in the stone. Your red ones, red rubies that shift from like dark purple to red, they're called pigeon blood. But these ones will all color shift under certain lights at different angles. They'll change colors quite a bit. Sapphires also like to hold light rather than appear completely transparent unless they're extremely high quality or they've been heat treated. Because of those pins and the way the matrices are formed in there, light doesn't get all the way through essentially. It almost gets caught, like it holds the light, almost like a light bulb or a lamp. But that's what these guys are. Most of these are. This stuff back here, this stuff here, this is feldspar, found in the same area. Remember, you have a lot more silicates on the earth than there are other things. And aluminum oxide is not a silicate. Corundum does not form with silicates running through it. You'll never see mica trapped inside of it, unless it's like biotine or if it's a sheening form of the sapphire. They just don't mix. Actually, silicates stop the growth oftentimes of the sapphire formation or corundum formation as that mud is being cooked, the alluvial mud out of the metamorphic deposits, and the stuff gets heated up to the right temperature at the right time. all different stuff starts to form. Aluminum oxide forms at a normal pressure gradient, generally to an elevated to severe pressure gradient, but usually 500 degrees or up to form. And what happens is, when they're forming out of that mud that's full of aluminum, because remember you need aluminum and oxygen to make one of these, if there are other trace metals in that mud, like iron, sulfur, titanium, rhododite, chromium, palladium, all these little trace metals will turn the sapphire from its normal natural color, which is supposed to be crystal clear, pure aluminum oxide is crystal clear, to one of these other variations of colors. And like I said, a sapphire can be any color under the rainbow, unless they're red. If they're red, they're called rubies, but they're the same thing. A lot of people will think that a green sapphire is an emerald. That's not true. They're not the same material. An emerald is actually a cyclosilicate. It's a form of silicate that's gotten bound or binded with a metal. And yeah, so really they're a form of beryl. Like there's red beryl, green beryl. That's really what an emerald is. If you can get really high quality green sapphire, and people heat treat it to get it more green in color, this is considered green here, so is this underneath. But if I hit this with my gem light real quick, not that one, but if I hit it with the bright one, I mean, you can see how transparent this piece is really down here. See how it just lights up and holds that light? Well, this is really considered green, because what it is really fine bands of light yellow and blue. And we got a smaller piece of it right up top, right up here. So these are the color shifting blues. We'll go to purple and stuff like that. But anyways, I just wanted to give you all an update. I'm going to tell you to stay tuned for the next contest announcement, and it'll be around 2,500 subscribers. How my contests always work is there'll be videos announcing the contest, and all you have to do to enter is comment below. I will then use your YouTube handle, put your name into a hat a few weeks later after I announce the contest, and whoever wins, wins, and then gets enrolled into the future giveaway at 10,000 subscribers, as we're slowly inching our way there. But in all honesty, guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much. You're helping the channel grow. I'm meeting all kinds of people that find similar things, that have similar questions and find similar mysteries in their own backyard. But anyways, this room is far from done. I just started getting things resituated. I have a lot of stuff to move, set up, organize, catalog yet. I've only got about 1/8 of my collection out so far. They are separated and sorted in a logical sense of where they're found, what day they're found, and what groupings other things were found with it. Some more fossilization type stuff. We got a fish fossil here. You see its little dorsal fin, its back, or its pec fin, its back fin, dorsal fin. It looks like a baby coelacanth or some sort of angler type species of fish. We've got hacked and butchered bone I found at a site that had Neanderthal style tools. We have some sort of bird head. You can see the fossilized eye organ right there going down into the beak in limestone. Some sort of mold fossil where something died and the silicates or the sedimentary formed over top of the dead animal, and it replaced the organic material as it decomposed, leaving behind a mold or a cast of the fossil behind. Other kinds of like smaller type fossils. I have all kinds of other pieces of coral as well. I have them in a box somewhere. Here's another piece of a brain coral, another piece of fossilized coral right there. Well, this stuff I find in my own yard, in my own hillsides, the coral. It's like I said, as we fade out of my neighborhood into the lower areas down into Huntington Valley, it goes away from limestone into the metamorphic uptick, and that's where you start finding gemstone. In the limestone area immediately around my house, what you find a lot of is silver, mercury, A lot of metals, because there's a lot of metals that get washed out of the limestone, because the limestone is soft, and as the water cuts through it, it moves metals with it, and then those metals, especially gold and silvers, they get trapped in limestone and quartz. What happens is you'll have limestone running through the quartz. The water will erode away the limestone and deposit the gold in that vein within the quartz. So you always find a couple things. This is a crazy effigy, the skull head. I think this is associated with a more recent time in history, as these markings on this side of this stone that is heart-shaped and has silver gold running through it. This symbol right here is an ancient Masonic trail symbol. So like every Masonic lodge had its own way of marking things along a trail, either by carving a rock, a symbol into it, but every lodge had its own language. So able to trace that back to that. Now what's interesting about that is it was found deposited under a tree that I was led to by maps of carvings on other trees. I have a whole video about this called the Golden Heart and the KCG. The Knights of the Golden Circle, KGC, were a group within the Masons that were radicalized Southerners that didn't wanted the South to rise again after the Civil War, and they deposited large amounts of gold and treasure all over the United States. And there's some kind of master map apparently, and some of the gold is still guarded and protected to today by different Confederate groups within Freemasonry, or different sentinels that were given through their family duty to guard these treasure deposit sites for, hopefully, so one day the South can rise again. This is a racist organization that, in a lot of ways, just like you have the Illuminati, which is a secret organization within Freemasonry, you have another secret organization, but in the southern chapters of Freemasonry, that split off, that were your aristocrats, your slave owners of the South, and people like Jesse James. He was one of the main, soldiers of this group, the KGC. He was one of the main bank robbers, robbing the gold, depositing it for one day the South could rise up again. And apparently, people have found some of the deposit sites. They're usually in mason jars. There's a whole series of different symbols carved in trees on rock outcroppings that coincide with this apparent master key for this map. That's about the extent that I know of it. They use bent trees and different sites to utilize this type of system for depositing treasure or pay sites. A lot of these sites have probably already been recovered. They probably aren't there anymore. What was interesting is about 2 weeks after I found this, under that, using the clues on the trees and following the hoot owl or bent trees, I went back there, and on one of the large trees right in the parking area that gives you access to the one main trailhead, there was a giant carving on the tree that said KSA, and it was CSA, and it was brand new, right across the base of the tree. Like someone had just put this carving there a few days after I'd been back there. And that might be insignificant to a lot of people, but CSA means Confederate States of America. So I'm wondering if someone is still really watching. Because this is really a map stone, essentially. This is marking 3 points along running water. These 2 points are the high points. This means there's water. And the fact that there's these 2 little markers in between these 2 markers that indicate running water, path along running water, it means that there's 2 deposition points. There's a triangle or a V shape with a triangle carved right under it. It means under one of these hills is buried something. So a value. Now, I have not further explored yet to see if I could find anything else. You're not really allowed to dig on these lands or metal detect without permits and things like that. So there's only very little that I can do. It's mainly just surface finds. But because I was I was in the junior version of Freemasonry, which is called DMLA. I learned a lot about the insides and inner workings of that organization. And the strange thing is, one of the main parks connected to the Pennypack Trail system in this area is called Mason's Mill Park. So the Masons came back in and bought all of this land at some point that now is being donated back to the public for public use as a preservation. But the actual stewards of the land, this private trust that created this preservation, they're mainly or entirely pretty much backed by Freemasons. So you have that little question there, like, why is that area being, bought by them and protected still? Now, a lot of the industry, the Pennypack held about 80% of the colonials' industry in one waterway during the Revolutionary War. And in times leading up to that, the Pennypack was one of the most productive creeks for industry, as far as its large amount of grist mills, sawmills, textile mills, powder mills. That's why I've been working on another documentary about the retreat of George Washington from Germantown, how I believe I located a secret encampment or supply depot that helped launch and support the Philadelphia campaign during the Revolutionary War. So stay tuned. There'll be some more stuff. I'm going to a lot of the battle scene sites, to where the Battle of Edge Hill, going to the Battle of Crooked Billet, the Mullen House, Valley Forge. All these different areas will be incorporated into this massive documentary that still is far from being done, but updates will be forthcoming. I want that to be a little bit more professional and serious, since I put almost 14 years of research into the Washington documentary, and it ties in with the Dones gang. I have a video up from years ago about that. Right around the time I think the video about the KCG information was up there. But this is just like a little hodgepodge of what is in my collection, as far as rough gemstones are concerned, as far as artifacts are concerned, and fossils are concerned, effigies or jewelry type stone pendants, things that required much more skill, metals, like I said, fossils, rough gemstone. Here's some more rough blue corundum. We'll be cutting some of this very, very soon. In the next few weeks, I'll put a video up about that, since I just got a really good wet saw, like I mentioned. A lot of these different tools down here, made out of different metamorphic materials, great for grinding. Let's see a great example of one right up here. Some kind of celt or hammer, shaped down. It's extremely hard granite-like material. And this is like pyroxene crystals, and this is definitely, yeah, that's pyroxene and nepheline cyanite. That's what it looks like. Shoot. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy. Please subscribe. Please stay tuned. Right around 2,500 subscribers, I'll be announcing the next contest. And all you got to do is comment on one of the contest videos that I release, and you'll be entered to win a small prize now. And then you'll be eligible to be enrolled into the grand contest when that concludes. And the grand contest announcement will be around 10,000 subscribers. It'll be a really, really nice gift. So anyway, guys, I'm just doing that to promote Happy Lost Souls. Please subscribe, please comment, please like. It helps grow the channel. And as always, I love you guys. Stay safe. Please subscribe. And if you're lost, stay happy, because it's in those times that you find yourself. Anyways, guys, please subscribe. Please stay tuned. I love y'all. Peace. Gotta clean this up. Got a lot of cleaning to do. All these drawers are full of different artifacts too. Like, it just never ends. These are very old cutters and blades and scalpels. But I hope to have this all kind of displayed all the way around. Like I said, all this will be shelving soon. And we'll have a big old museum, and the rock room will be complete. So the Happy Lost Souls, Ron's Rock Room, will be complete very shortly. Some other tools over here, different hammers, picks, celts, axes, hammers. Got like a ball peen hammer here, almost like a ball peen point hammer with a little notch carved out. That was a composite tool. More hand tools and picks, hand hammers. Nutting stone, you see little holes in there for cracking nuts on. There's a lot more diamond shaped artifacts down in here. This whole tray is from the Chamonix, but also has a lot of very Solutrean style. These stylus type instruments, these pokers, these needles, these elongated sharpeners and smoothers, and these smaller tools, these holes. This all looks very Solutrean in design, but can also be Native American. Very hard to date things that are found in creeks or creek deposits. Got an arrowhead here made out of blue sheen sapphire. You see like some weird type of tool was used on that piece back there, almost like a modern cutting wheel. I got more, another sapphire, blue sapphire blade back there. Little blue sapphire points up here. Another blue sapphire point. Another blue sapphire point that's shouldered, which is very Clovis. That's like when they first started shouldering points in the Paleo Woodland period. So you're moving into a newer time. And then with these arrowheads that have more definition, that are stemmed, I find those in private fields a lot of times. Field walking plow fields and plow areas. You'll find these perfectly intact artifacts that have no wear and tear from the creek at all, because where they fell is where they were covered, and slowly over time the plow removed little incremental amounts of dirt until it revealed where that artifact perfectly fell. So they're really the only few that I have that are in situ, as archaeologists would say, that were found where they actually fell. That's why they're in such great shape. But that's more recent in time. Those are probably about they're probably about 4 to 3,000 years at their latest, these stemmed ones. But could be a little older, could be a little newer. They're made out of some kind of shale. But anyways, like I said, guys, thank you so much for all the support so far. But if I can get your subscription, if you haven't subscribed and you're watching these videos and not subscribing, just take a minute and make sure you hit the subscribe button. It helps more than you'll ever know. Anyways, again, guys, thanks again. I love you all. Peace. Please subscribe.